at least circle back to Saki answered the question for him. But my, what an answer.
Not everything being announced today.
Yeah.
Can this administration guarantee that holiday packages will arrive on time?
We are not the Postal Service or UPS or FedEx. We cannot guarantee.
If or how Biden and his officials answer that question. No, they're more than happy to provide not coverage, but cover for his debacles, which, as you know, means Biden isn't to blame for stealing Christmas. Rather, COVID is. And just in case we can't understand why cargo ship backlogs are at record highs because we don't understand how the supply chain works, then never fear. Chris Cuomo is poised and ready to define it in sci-fi terms. It's the blob.
Some exercise equipment, you can't eat out, so you remodel your kitchen, and that is what's placed the strain on the system. It's not that we've fallen short of the deliveries we were achieving before. It's that people are trying to buy more stuff because they're still scared of the virus, and that is what's straining the system to the brink.
The talking points memo. For according to Joe Biden, it's not the people's fault per se. It's the Republicans because they won't pass the infrastructure bill.
Bottleneck. But to address the long-standing...
Never let a good crisis go to waste, right? But wait, there's more.
The world has changed. Prior to the crisis, we cheered, the focus on lean, efficient supply chains, leaving no buffer or margin for error when it comes to certain parts arriving just in time is needed to make a final product. We need to take a longer view, though, that invest in building greater resilience to withstand the kinds of shocks we've seen over and over, year in and year out, whether it's the pandemic, extreme weather, climate change, cyber attacks, or other disruptions.
Here we go again. Create a crisis, provide a solution. Do you want to celebrate Christmas? Pass infrastructure. If not, it's the Republicans who are stealing Christmas. President Trump predicted Christmas would be next on the cancel list.
Starting to say very strongly, Merry Christmas. Remember when I first ran? I said, you're going to say Merry Christmas. They're all saying Merry Christmas again. We better move fast because that'll end also like everything else.
Yeah, it's remarkable, Natalie, but not unpredictable. These folks take a page out of Marx's sort of approach to running an economy, and it's called command and control. They've screwed up the economy with all their mandates. They're encouraging firms to lay off workers, to fire workers, because they haven't gotten a jab. They may well already have natural immunity from having had the disease. And so this is very upsetting, obviously, the marketplaces. They've involved themselves in the energy marketplace by canceling a pipeline. It was pretty important. They've done all this work to raise the price of energy and substitute to other sources, which by and large rely on coal and oil and these more typical energy sources. Energy's got to come from somewhere if it's electricity. And they really wreaked havoc with the economy. And now they're getting ready to do it again with this infrastructure bill through the financial portions of the economy. They're looking to raise all kinds of information gathering rules for our banks and credit unions, impose those costs on them, and invade our privacy.
You've worked at $600. They want to analyze people's bank accounts. You know better than anyone what that's going to do to the economy. They're trying to break the great American comeback that President Trump had built. We were doing fine even when we shut down the economy. Now, with inflation out of control, we're heading probably towards a recession, if not a depression.
It's terrible, Natalie, and frankly, it goes beyond the economic consequences. To me, it begins looking like the IRS is growing into one of our 18th intelligence agencies. They plan to look at the aggregate of transactions from a payee into your bank account, and if it exceeds $600, that information will get shipped off to the IRS. So it's not just a transaction over 600, it's an aggregate of transactions from somebody that's paying you or to somebody you're paying. So that could be a whole lot of $10 transactions. They think this is going to raise $480 billion of new revenue over 10 years, $48 billion a year, divided by 100 million taxpayers. That means the average taxpayer is going to pay an extra $480 a year that they're not paying today. That's just never going to happen. And if it did, it would be crushing to the economy because a lot of these people would obviously be small business owners and households And you just lever this on top of the other taxes they already proposed. It's just really ridiculous. It's invasive, and it makes the IRS into an intelligence agency rather than a revenue source.
And then they're probably going to be profiling people. We saw the IRS do this under the Obama administration, but that was nonprofits we were talking about, conservative action groups that were actually being targeted. This is the American people. This is what President Trump meant when he said, they're not after me, they're not after you, they're after me, I'm just in the way. Now that he's still fighting for us, but they're after every single person in this country now that President Trump isn't there to stop them.
Well, Natalie, they could obviously marry this data up with other data they have, to go after what they call the deplorables, the dregs, and that would basically be conservatives. The group they've labeled probably white supremacists would fall into that group as well. And we've seen with low
government takeover of every industry and every person's life, trying to micromanage when the government can't even manage the DMV for that matter. None of this had to happen. And to think that so quickly the Biden administration could be destroying everything. Real quick, what's your prediction? What do you think is going to happen this Christmas season? Do you think they're going to have it all figured out and shipping's going to be back on normal, or is everything going to still be stuck in those cargo ships?
Well, Natalie, if it gets figured out, it'll be figured out by the private sector, not by the folks in the White House, folks in Washington. Hopefully they just stay out of the way and let the industry figure this out and adapt to all the chaos that the Biden folks have wrought and find workarounds.
When you think about what President Trump did during COVID-19, launching the largest industry mobilization since World War II, that's the kind of leadership you need right now, not what the Biden administration is doing, saying, we're going to watch what you do, and if you don't do it, we're going to get involved. Who's going to get involved? Pete Buttigieg? He doesn't even know what he's doing, and neither does Biden. But Casey, thank you for what you're doing out there and continuing to shed light on this, because we can't let them steal Christmas from us. We'll still have that Christmas spirit, but they can't ruin our country and ruin Christmas too.
That's right, Natalie. Thanks very much.
We'll see you soon. The nonstop flood of illegal aliens breaching our border, and the growing dangers associated with Team Biden's reckless open-door policies. We'll get a first-hand account of the humanitarian crisis when The Real Story continues.